Hey everybody, you're back with Joey. That tune right there, Please Louise. She was a nice girl, though.
I don't know a girl named Louise. So,
No, it was a while back. It could have been her middle name, but that was my tune there off of the Green Cat.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, out of New York. Let's go right into it, because time is of an essence. Okay. Were you ever pressured? And it goes something like this: Hey, make sure that horse wins. Make sure that team wins. Make sure these points are shaved the right way and everything. You have the floor.
In the business I was in the bookmaking business, booked horses at the Rose Bowl race book, and that's where I kind of learned a lot. But I was booking bets when I was back in New York, when I was working for a trucking company, and a lot of guys in the warehouse. OTB just opened up at that time, and I would go up and make some bets for the guys, and it became like a daily thing. And I realized when I went to the OTB office, there was tickets on the floor, losing tickets. So there was more losers than winners.
Of course.
So then the light bulb went off in my head, and I said, I picked up about 100 or so tickets, and I put a rubber band around them, and went back, worked the following day, and went out into the warehouse and said, guys, you want to make bet? Yeah, I'm going up to OTB on the way home.
Right.
Took all the bets on a piece of paper.
Right.
Didn't go to the OTB room, went straight home.
Okay.
11 o'clock at night, they would give the results, whether it be trotters or horses.
Obvious, yeah, I know.
And that's how I started booking bets. And then when I came to Vegas, I mean, coming to Vegas, it was great.
So that kind of
got me.
That kind of wet your beak and got you kind of going.
Yeah, I realized then that people pick more losers than winners. And
hey man, it's doing it myself, not on a crazy level. It's hard, man.
It is hard.
It
is hard. There's a certain group of people that put a lot of time and effort into it. But back then, 40 years ago, 45 years ago, we didn't have the internet and stuff like that. So everything,
right.
There was no advantage over any other individuals.
Right.
So
exactly.
I was booking bets and going to work and back and forth, and then eventually came to Las Vegas. I have family here in Las Vegas.
And what year was that?
I came out here in 1975.
1975, folks.
But my uncle and family came out here in the 50s, 1950s.
Very nice. Right.
And actually, when I was younger, in 1959, actually, my mother and father and my sister, we came out for 1 year. And then my father at that time was working at the old Sahara Hotel, making $13 a day. And we stayed a year because you can't live off of $13 a day.
What was Dad doing there?
He was a cashier there.
Wow.
But then when I came back in 1975, I wanted to be a crap dealer.
Okay.
My uncle he was out here from the 1950s, got to know a lot of people that ran casinos, mob guys at that time.
Right, of course.
And
what is it? Gotta call it.
It's 4.
That's it. All right, we're dead. Go ahead.
But went to crap school and wasn't able to get a job, unfortunately.
Okay.
So my uncle says, do you know anything about horses and sports? I says, yeah, of course I do. He says, well, go see this guy, Marty Kane, over at the Stardust Hotel.
Okay, not to interrupt, but real quick, what I want to just put out there is, go see this guy, all right? Not what you know, who you know. Always a big thing, the way it used to be. Okay.
No, very true. Very good point.
I had to throw it.
That's a good point. So I went to meet this individual. He says, yeah, okay, you're so-and-so's nephew. Okay, can you start tomorrow? Yeah, sure. Bingo. That's all it took.
But that's how it was. Can you start tomorrow? You just met the guy. He saw your face. He met you. You had the in and everything.
He knew my uncle, and that was the end of it.
Right. It's not go on the internet
go
and
fill out an application.
Fill out the application so you can get the interview.
Right.
Okay. Just touching real quick, I want to just jump back to the OTB. Folks, off-track betting in New York City. Right. And going back to New York as a young man with my godfather and my Uncle Johnny, he used to take me down to the OTB, and that's where I got to meet Jake LaMotta. And
I got a story about Jake.
Oh, well, we got to talk about Jake because we got 5 hours today. But no.
I wish we did, but I got a classic story about Jake. But let me get to the.
Please finish.
Get to this other story.
I just wanted to throw that in.
All right, so they hire me to work in the race and sports book at the Stardust Hotel, and Frank Rosenthal at that time was involved with the hotel. He was like food and beverage manager, I believe his title was.
Right. Remember the titles changed.
They changed. If you remember the movie Casino. But so now I'm working there it was the busiest racing sports book at that time on the Strip, and it was great working there. I enjoyed working there. You know?
Of course.
And one Saturday afternoon, Frank Rosenthal and his entourage came by the sports book and just pointed, and they were walking. You know, he had about 4 or 5 people around him and just pointing at the counter. At the end of my shift that night, I was terminated. We only worked there 30 days.
You get this now?
So I clocked out, and I says, why am I getting fired? Oh, no reason. Just, you're fired, along with 4 or 5 other guys. I get home. I call my uncle. I says, "Oh, I didn't do anything.
I didn't do nothing.
I didn't do nothing." You know, so he says, "Let me make a phone call." He calls me back. He says, "Lou, don't worry about it." He says, "Rosenthal wants to make changes. He wants to hire more females behind the counter." I said, "Okay." Now I'm kind of upset, but okay.
Right.
But then my uncle came to my rescue again. He says, "All right, go see this guy over at the Rose Bowl race book. Mention my name."
Again, drop a name. He goes see him.
Go see him.
You look nice. You're presentable. You're in.
I go. I meet this individual. He says, "Can you start tomorrow?" I says, "Of course."
I love it. Can you start tomorrow?
And I worked there 5 years at the Rose Bowl Racebook. And it was great. It was a great education. I met some great gamblers there. I met some great entertainers there. Pat Cooper.
So Pat Cooper. Know him well. So we're talking like what, 75?
This was 1975 to 1980.
Okay, and we don't want to lay your age down because we know you're in your 40s. So then you had to be like
40s.
what?
I wish. I'm Jack Benny's age, 39.
Every year, 39. But Lou, go ahead, please continue.
But met a lot of people there. I mean, there were a lot of wise guys there. There was a lot of celebrities there. Shecky Green, Jack Klugman, Pat Cooper.
They all popped in. They were doing their thing, and class was involved, which is one of my next questions. What was the biggest tip? I mean, who juiced you? Who took care of you the right way? People don't really tip nowadays, friends. But
in those days, tips were okay. They were really okay. I mean, trying to think back over 40 years ago.
You had to get a nice one from somebody. Had to be like, "Hey, Lou."
Well, a lot of that came later. All right, so let's go. 1980, I'm out of the Rose Bowl Racebook.
You see how he stays right down?
Right there. I got 1980 to 1985. Worked at the Dunes Hotel.
Dunes, folks.
Sportsbook.
We love it. Should still be around.
It should. It was a beautiful hotel. The Sultan's Table was one of the fine restaurants there. Morris Schenker was the owner of the hotel at that time, who was connected.
Is the Sultan the guy that's up on top of the
He was the guy on top,
That's him, right?
That was him.
I think we're going to have a picture of the Sultan. I just love it. You love it.
But Morris Schenker was, like I said, the owner at that time, and there was a connection between the St. Louis mob and him and stuff like that.
St. Louis mob, very strong.
Yeah.
Just want to throw that in.
At that time.
So.
And worked there 5 years. They closed it down, and there was a lot of management changes coming and going and whatever. There was a lot of... There I met John Spilatro.
Tony's brother.
Tony's brother.
Exactly.
John would come in on the weekends with an attaché case. They used to carry those in those days.
Yeah, I got the
I think
one.
you still have one.
Did you see the one outside?
I saw the one outside.
Samsonite.
And they'd be loaded with $100 bills, maybe $100,000 or $200,000.
If you've seen those, yeah.
And he would come in, very nice man. He really was completely different than his brother. He really was. John was he'd come in, he'd make his sports bets, whatever they were betting for that weekend.
Yeah, and he'd stop and pick up the skim. You know what I'm saying? He picked up what was owed. Come on. That's what it was.
And that's a part I don't know about, but...
I know a little bit about it.
You might know a little bit more about that. But John was a real nice guy, and I got to talk to him. I mean, he basically talked about sporting, about football games, stuff like that.
Right.
1985, I think they closed, or 1984. 1985, took a part-time job, a ticket writer's job at the Caesar's Palace.
Nice, yeah.
And it was... But let me go back a little bit, because the Rosenthal thing kind of stuck in my craw a little bit.
Okay, on that note, we're going to come back with that. Along with that, we're going to be bringing in Mr. Eugene Shane Steward, producer. Also, Lou is the co-producer for Cash is King in Las Vegas. And I'll let these gentlemen talk about it when we come back. You're watching the Joey Ciccone Show. Then, now, and tomorrow. Today we're doing The Way It Used to Be. I'll be right back.